I recently rewatched Hawkshaw's video on Siegmeyer and Katarina and it got me thinking about the differences between the DS1 Onion Knight when compared to the DS3 version. In this video I want to compare the two versions of the Onion Knight and highlight their similarities and differences. Starting with Siegmeyer's first encounter. We first encounter him sleeping outside of the gate to Sen's fortress waiting to enter. As pointed out by Hawkshaw, the world of Lorden is incredibly dangerous and sleeping is likely to get you robbed at best. Additionally, he is trying to get through the Sen's fortress gate and from what we see all he does is wait by the gate instead of looking into ways to open it. With Siegmeyer's gear I believe he could have defeated the Bell Gargoyles and in Firelink the Crestfallen Warrior tells us of two bells that need to be rung to proceed. Even ignoring the prophecy, which we can assume he doesn't know, Siegmeyer could have easily gone hollow waiting for the gate to open. He had no way of knowing that we or any undead would open the gate, and if adventuring is truly his life then surely an adventurer would consider the gate a dead end to investigate later. Consider the situation in a D&D scenario. Would any group decide that the way to open a gate is to wait in front of it? No! They would investigate the nearby areas to search for clues and ask people about how to open it. Now let's discuss Sigurd's first encounter. We encounter him as he's actively trying to reach the giant archer to talk to him. Already when compared to Siegmeyer he's actively trying to solve the problem. After we go down the elevator he's able to figure out the puzzle, and when you consider the puzzle in the context of the game, who would think to get off the lift so you can go up? Next he somehow gets off the elevator and thanks the player for helping him with solving the puzzle and is considering how to deal with a demon. He does suggest talking to the demon, and considering that in DS1 demons used to have a society, that's not a completely outlandish idea. When attacking the demon he rushes in to help you, and after defeating the demon he does advise you to avoid getting in over your head as we need to put duty first. While he does fall asleep afterwards, it's in a relatively safe location where it's difficult for any hollow to reach him, and Seagrow does have healing properties so he's gone to sleep after healing himself. The second time we encounter Siegmeyer he has progressed into Sen's fortress and is stuck trying to get past the boulder. The only thing he suggests is to try rolling, but he instantly dismisses it as an option as his head would spin. He's only able to progress once we get past and move the boulder trap into a position where it won't hit him. As Hawkshaw points out in his video, this is another indicator on how he's not really an adventurer and doesn't prepare for the challenges ahead. Let's consider the fact he teaches us emit force. While to my knowledge it wouldn't stop the boulder, surely it would be worth trying instead of waiting. Now let's compare this to the second time we encounter Sigurd. He has been tricked by Patches and has his armor stolen. Now we don't know how that happened, but let's jump to when we give him his armor back. He says, "With my trusty suit of armor I'll be out of here in a jiffy." To me this shows that he's a competent warrior, and considering that Patches has his weapons as well, the sensible thing to do is wait and get someone to help him. On top of that, once you give him his equipment back he's able to escape by himself. The next time we encounter Siegmeyer is in Anerlondo outside a room full of Silver Knights, and again he's waiting for other people to help and suggests that we'll need another 3 to 5 people to help. But as Hawkshaw points out, consider just how unlikely it is for just 2 people to get to Anerlondo, let alone 5 more. In the game itself the only people who get to Anerlondo that could help are us, Siegmeyer, Soler and potentially Logan. While Tarkus got to Anerlondo he died in the Painting Guardian rafters. So with only 2 other people outside of us and Siegmeyer, one of whom is dead, Logan is focused on getting into Seth's archives and as such would be unlikely to help. This leaves Soler, who I'm sure would help. That doesn't even take into account, though, that the Silver Knight room isn't even on the main path. The next time we encounter Sigurd is in the Irithal kitchen, where he has fallen asleep making a stuss soup. At first this seems comparable to Siegmeyer, but there's a few differences I'd like to highlight. First, the location itself is relatively secure, with the sewer creatures unable to enter and the Silver Knights don't seem interested in leaving their current posts. Second, the Stuss Soup and Seagrow both have healing properties, and it wouldn't surprise me if he had made a deal with the Silver Knights once they learned he had no interest in Sullivan and the gods. Third, He's clearly distracted by his promise to Irma is wanting to delay killing his old friend. For myself, these are key differences, as he's not waiting for someone else to solve a problem for him. It instead seems like we've come across him as he's making preparations for the next step of his journey. We now encounter Siegmeyer in Firelink Shrine. He asks us if we were responsible for opening the gate. If we say yes, then he thanks us, giving us a bit force, otherwise he says, "Oh well, stranger things have happened. You only have to give it some time." Consider that statement. He attributes the gate opening to chance, but like Hawkshaw points out, how likely was that chance? When we talk to him again, he says there's nothing of worth in Orlando and will be heading down below, stating he's prepared for the worst. Let's consider this. Nothing of worth in Orlando? That's a ridiculous statement in my opinion. Ignoring our quest, consider Orlando from an adventurer's perspective. The giant blacksmith alone would be worth staying a while to stock up on supplies at. Additionally, the Silver Knight equipment is worth obtaining, and the knowledge you could obtain there would be well worth staying there for a while. In regards to him heading down, that leads to our next encounter with him, so I'll go into more detail then. After the kitchen, we next encounter Sigurd in the Earthal dungeon in a cell. From his dialogue: "But you needn't worry. I've just been sitting here weighing my options. The moment has almost come. I just need a bit more time." Based on this, I think it's safe to say that Sigurd is delaying going to Irm, as he likely doesn't want to kill his old friend. Once we rescue him, he thanks us, giving us a tip-night slap, and he says, "No, please, go on ahead. I've my own road to take, and a duty to fulfill very soon." Again, to me this indicates he's wanting to avoid killing Irm, as they were friends, and as an unkindled, that means he attempted to link the fire, likely to honor Irm's memory, so while he's waiting he understandably doesn't want to kill his old friend. Here we encounter Siegmeyer, where he's fallen asleep after getting stuck without moss. As Hawkshaw points out, Siegmeyer has essentially traveled the minimum you can go without moss. On top of that, falling asleep outside Sen's fortress is dangerous enough, but Blighttown is a poisonous swamp with a lot of dangerous creatures that could easily kill someone unaware. When he asks for moss, he says it's for the trip back. If you don't give him any, he asks if he's ever let hardship slow him down, but again, as Hawkshaw points out, consider the previous times we meet Siegmeyer. Initially he's sleeping by the fortress gate. We next encounter him inside the fortress, where he could get past fairly easily. In Orlando, he's waiting outside a room full of silver knights that don't even need to be fought, and finally, in Blighttown, he's stopped at the first hurdle due to not preparing for the journey, as even without the female undead merchants you can get the moss clumps by killing a few bushes in the forest. When entering Irm's fight, Sigurd will enter after you, saying that he's come to uphold his promise. He will then help you in the fight and can handle himself in the fight. After defeating Irm, he does a final toast before succumbing to his wounds. What's interesting to note is that Sigurd, unlike Siegmeyer, will help in this fight, while Siegmeyer, despite traveling the entire world of Lordran, never leaves a sign to summon him with. Here Siegmeyer has somehow fallen asleep in Lost Izalith. Izalith is an incredibly dangerous location. Certainly not a place where you should fall asleep. After being prompted, he will then decide to charge into a pit full of chaos monsters. These monsters are creatures that should not be attacked from above. Should he survive with or without your help, he will eventually end up at Ash Lake, where his daughter has killed him due to his hollowing. To conclude, when you look at the path that Siegmeyer takes throughout Lordran, he constantly lets the smallest of problems stop him without attempting alternate solutions. Meanwhile, Sigurd is working towards his goal with some detours, and although he does delay completing his objective, it's understandable when you compare their goals. Sigurd's goal is to kill an old friend, and he clearly needs to prepare himself mentally for that, while Siegmeyer goal is just adventuring, but he lets any hurdle on the path stop him. So in summary, I think Sigurd is the better Onion Knight.